Hello and welcome back to Classic Mini Restoration with me, Mini Tom. So this episode is an experiment for me. My cooling system with the new engine is starting to get a little bit hot, and it's meant that I can't really drive the car too far because I'm a bit concerned about it getting, a bit too close to that red stage, which obviously killed the last engine. So rather than chucking money at it and buying new hoses, it's already got a fairly new pump on it, so I don't think that's the issue. But buying new hoses, buying a new radiator, buying a new matrix, valves, that sort of thing. What I thought I'd do is cheap, cost effective, and should work really well. So what I've done, I've used some of this stuff. Fernox F3 cleaner. Now this stuff is what you normally put in central heating installations in your house to give the system a thorough clean. The reason I've used this is because, well, for me it's readily available, and two, I know that this stuff works wonders in your house. So another caveat to that is your cooling system in your Mini is made up of the same things as your central heating boiler and the radiators. So you've got obviously steel radiators, you've got copper pipes, you've got rubber hoses in your boiler, you've got plastic components in your boiler, aluminium, cast iron heat exchangers, that sort of thing. So everything that's in your cooling system echoes what's in your heating system at home. So this stuff should do no damage. Now, in my case, it's the original radiator, as far as I'm led to believe, probably the original hoses. It's got a new thermostat in it. I think it's an 82 or 75 degree stat. I can't remember which one, but it's one of them two. It's got a new thermostat, which works. I tested it. It's also got a new water pump, but still I'm getting that temperature a bit high. So I put maybe about a third of this bottle in. I drained a bit of the coolant out, put a third of it in, and ran it for a week. So I've done that. Then when I did that, I brought it back. I flushed the whole system out, so I ran the garden hose through it, and I reversed the flow as well. Got a lot of stuff out. What I did after that was I topped it back up, and again I put about another third of this bottle in, and that's been in there now for maybe 2 going on 3 weeks. And I've just used the car now and again, just sort of spur the moment, take it for a run out and see what it's doing. And I can confirm the temperature gauge stays pretty much bang on the middle, on the little white mark where that's supposed to be, so I'm pretty happy with it. So this episode, what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk to you a bit more about this stuff. You only need a couple of screwdrivers, so depending on what your hose clamps at, there will be a posit or a flathead. You can use a socket as well, I think it's 7mm. So you need that, and just a garden hose, that's all you need. And that'll clean your full heating system out, or your cooling system, shall I say, on this case. And it should get you back up and running. Fernox F3 itself, like I say, you can get it from most plumber shops, most DIY shops. You can also get things like Monument do one, and what's the other brand? Magna Clean will do one as well. But I use this stuff because, like I said, it's readily available. You can get either Fernox F3 or F5. It's the same stuff, but the F5 is a bit more concentrate. This will treat, I think it's up to something like 120 litres of water or something, the full bottle. That'll treat up to that. Obviously there's only about 4.5 litres in a Mini, so that's why I've not used all the bottle, even though you possibly could do. I just didn't want to put too much in there than what's, it might be too concentrated. So I've put a third in at a time and it's been fine, and that's a 1 litre bottle, I think it is. So I might be 500ml. Anyway, that size bottle. What I'm going to do now then, I'm going to flush the whole cooling system out. I'll show you while I'm flushing it the amount of stuff that this has actually cleaned, because you'll see from the colour of the water, it's horrible. So you'll see what it's cleaned, and then we'll put some fresh coolant in it, because even though it's been found on the temp gauge, it's not got any coolant in it. It is still running, just water and Fernox F3, so we're going to get some coolant in there. Make sure when you're mixing your coolant up, if it's not already pre-mixed, you're mixing it to the right ratios, as per your specs on your car, or on the specs on the bottle, and make sure that when you get your coolant it's the right type as well. Because if you mix it too weak or too rich, I suppose, or too concentrated, either way it can be bad for your engine. So make sure you are mixing it to sort of 30%, 40%, whatever is stated by your manufacturing instructions or what's on the bottle that you get. So yeah, I'm going to pull the Mini out, we're going to get it flushed out. Nice and simple, just take a hose off the bottom, let it all drain out, and then get your hose pipe in the top and just run it all through, blocking the radiator side first, so it'll run through your actual car in reverse. And then if you block off the bottom hose, it'll run through your radiator as well, and it'll just give it all out a really nice clean. And that's as opposed to taking the whole system apart and taking it, you know, to the next level and cleaning every single component individually, which can help, but I just thought this would be a quicker, easier and more time efficient way without spending money on getting a brand new Fletcher radiator, high performance water pump, that sort of thing. So it's just started raining, which will be fun, but I'm going to pull the Mini out, do a quick flush, I'll put some coolant in it, and then we'll see how it goes. But I am, like I say, confident that this has solved the issue. So what you might notice here is that I'm not actually taking the bottom hose off the bottom of the radiator. I'm taking it from the back of the water pump. That's purely for ease. If you've ever done this before and you try to get your hand down to that very bottom hose, you'll know it's an absolute nightmare to do. So I just found that a bit easier. Something I thought I'd mention too, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I have just hit 1,000 subscribers. I am absolutely over the moon, so thank you to everybody out there that has subscribed to my channel, liked, commented, and just given some great feedback on it. So if you haven't already, please like it, please subscribe it, and yeah, once again, thank you very much to everyone that has done so already. It is really, really appreciated, and I am blown away by the support. Thank you. Typical, like so many of these jobs, it started to rain. So anyway, hose pipe in, turn it on. And what that'll do first, it'll flush down through the bottom. Bring you in a bit so you can see maybe. So that's coming out of there now. And it's quite mucky, it's getting cleaner. But we'll leave that going for a little bit. Alright, so hopefully you can see that now, it's running quite clear through there. So something I haven't shown here, what you can do, if you take off your top hose off the radiator side, you can put your hose pipe in there and put some water through the thermostat. Bear in mind, there's only a small hole in your thermostat for it to allow water to come through, so you do need to be a little bit careful with the pressure, otherwise you will get very wet. You can also take your thermostat housing off, remove the thermostat and flush it out that way. It's probably better to do that, but in my case I don't have a gasket for it at the minute. If I did that, I would be off the road for a little bit till I waited for a gasket. So that's what I've done in this case. It still came out of the water pump like it should do, just a bit slower. What you can also do is take off your heater matrix hoses and give that a really thorough flushing out as well. Really easy to do. And this sort of flush just avoids taking all the components off your car and doing it on your driveway. I find it a lot easier, a lot more time effective, especially with using the chemicals that I've used. So what I did, just because I couldn't get the bottom hose off, I blew through the radiator out of the hose to the water pump, just to get all of the water out of it and all of the sort of Fernox cleaning fluid out of it. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna fill it with some coolant that I've just mixed up. It's about a 40% ratio of coolant to water. So we'll tip this in, get the engine running, and then we should be able to bleed it. Oh, this is going everywhere. So some radiators will have a sort of max and min marking on the inside of them. A good rule of thumb, if you get just about between 10 and 20 mil below the actual where the cap sits, that's kind of where you want it. Just take this nice and slow, because it's got a gravity bleed itself through the system to get rid of any air. It's also got a bleed through the radiator, so just take it nice and slow. And like I said, once you've got it to where you kind of want it, run the engine. It should push any air out of the system. Leave the cap off and then just top up as necessary. But it is always a good idea to just keep checking frequently for the next day or two, just to make sure that level is correct. Well, it's been a few days now since I did the coolant flush and change, and I'm happy to report that all things seem fan-dabby-dozy. I will say as well, obviously it's been a few days since then. I'm on my way to the classic mini meet in Shipley, run by the Mini Cooper Register and Andy A-Speed Harrison. If you don't know any of that sort of stuff, again, I did a video last time, get in the description below, and give them a follow. Hop along if you want to as well. So I'm driving it today. It's about 20 minutes. I'm about 15 minutes in, and so far looking good on the gauge. Right, if not just below the middle mark, so I'm pretty chuffed with that. So yeah, definitely recommend Fernox F3 for a coolant flush. Do it in a similar sort of way that I've done it, and it'll give you some, well, hopefully it'll give you some great results. One last thing I want to mention, it is the 61st birthday of the Mini. So after what started off as a crappy year with COVID-19, it's still here and it still keeps safe, but I'm at least able to go to a mini show of a kind in my Mini on the 61st birthday. I mean, that is just a great feeling, and it's running perfectly as well, so what a result. If you have liked the video, please make sure you do subscribe down here. Make sure that you like the video as well, and if you feel like it, ring that bell and that'll notify you whenever I upload a video. Hopefully this has been of some use to somebody out there that's got a bit of an overheating issue and can't afford, like myself, to go out and just chuck money at it and buy brand new parts. The bottle costs about 10 quid, and if you don't use too much of it, you can always put it in your system at home as well and give that a clean out while you're doing it. So yeah, anyway, I'll see you on the next one. All the best from me. Ta-da!